Welcome to Week in One, the show that gives you a quick roundup of the top stories and interviews featured on eNCA over the past 7 days. I'm Shirdika Pillai. First to this week's top stories. President Cyril Ramaphosa re-elected as ANC president. A freak wave in Durban kills 3 people and injures 17. The police officer accused of killing his 2 lovers hangs himself in his Westville prison cell. South Africans watched nervously as the ANC's long-awaited national conference elected the leadership team that will guide the party into 2024's national elections. In the end, President Cyril Ramaphosa defied the odds and has been re-elected as party president, with Paul Mashatile taking up the seat as deputy president. Let's recap that moment.
I could not even make out that number as the crowd once more erupted with glee. I mean, sounds of joy as they heard that it's more than 2,000 votes for President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's remaining in place in his position as the president of the African National Congress. I think it's still elective conference. The party is entrusting him to take charge, 70-year-old, and to lead the party to those 2024 elections. And now we're hearing former President Kgalema Motlanthe calling for the crowd to just calm down as they are supposed to proceed, of course, with now the pronouncement of the deputy presidency. There, we know the current Treasurer General just been dissolved.
In drawing the conference to a close, President Cyril Ramaphosa had strong words for defined party members to fall in line and stand behind elected leaders. This, he says, is due to continuous attempts to sow division within the party.
There have, yes, been attempts to divide us, to provoke us, and to divert us from the tasks that we must undertake in advancing our national democratic revolution. There have been moments at this conference that have tested our unity and cohesion. But I can testify to the fact that this conference is going to continue solidifying our unity and our cohesion as the African National Congress. And thanks to the political consciousness, and for the most part, the discipline amongst yourselves as delegates, in that whatever differences amongst us that we may have had, these did not distract us from the critical work that the people of this country expect and require of us. The branches have spoken by choosing the leadership that will emerge from here. That is the way of democracy in the African National Congress. And once the branches have made their choice, all of us are expected to fall in line and embrace and accept the decisions that have been taken here.
With the official conference at an end, the ANC announced the additional names for the 87-member National Executive Committee. More than 200 candidates made it onto the ballot.
The ANC's 55th National Elective Conference got off to a bumpy start, frustrated middle and dreary end. Power cuts caused delays and frustrated the registration process throughout, and no one was spared. A telling premonition of SA's future if Eskom doesn't get its act together.
We have learned quite a few lessons, especially from a planning point of view, that the processes leading up to the nominations by the branch general meetings of the ANC should be planned ahead of time. If it was up to the Electoral Committee, we'll have started this work at least 6 months before the conference. We also then faced a number of challenges at the time of registration, also due to the technological issues and then the issue of timing generally, which I think we can improve. When we were dealing with the nomination on the floor for the top 7 officials. That took quite a long in terms of debate as to, the nomination, especially of the second and first Deputy Secretary General, was quite a long process.
The lack of electricity wasn't the only dark cloud. The ANC has finally acknowledged that its membership is in free fall.
I'm not so much worried about the decline in membership. I'm more worried about the quality of membership. You have to remember, I think President Thabo Mbeki used to say fewer but better. The key issue for the ANC is the electoral decline, because I think that's what they really should be worried about. But that speaks to people saying, we don't believe what you have currently works, and you need to improve upon that. So I think that really should be the key focus of putting your best foot forward for the Republic.
With new leadership installed, the ANC will shift its gaze to 2024 elections, where it will have to claw back support from an increasingly disillusioned voter base.
And we need to make sure that we have a drive to motivate and encourage our voters to go to the polls, because they are not leaving us for other parties. We still have our fair share of the electoral base, but we need to make sure that that constituency, one, we safeguard our constituency, but we also grow our constituency, so that we can be able to win some convincing majority in 2024.
With a new 87-member National Executive Committee, a cabinet reshuffle is on the cards. It will need to prioritize the implementation of key policies that touch on the pressure points of joblessness, service delivery, and failing SOEs. Bule Lishi-Jones in Johannesburg.
In other news, as thousands of holidaymakers begin their annual trek to the coast, 3 people drowned after being hit by a freak wave at North Beach on Saturday. Another 17 people were injured. eNCA reporter Ngobile Madlala compiled this report.
This is Zamakuba Nomvalo. During a family outing, the 12-year-old was caught in a rip current while swimming. She died later in Eddington Hospital, not far from the beach. Her family and friends recall the day.
Ngiyafika esixukwini nje vele mhlambe kunabantu abawu15 abalele phansi. Lapho nam ngase ngisangene sengiqalaza owami. Mangiphonsa amehlo ngiwabone owami umntwana elele phansi.
Ukuthi angikwazanga ukulontuza uStika because bebhuda nami angikwazanga ukumlontuza ukumsiza washona.
The Shezi family says paramedics could not all get the assistance at the nearby hospital.
Lapha eEddington baxoxiwe kuthiwa abangabalethi abantu abasuka la eBish labantu abagwilizile kusho wona ama-paramedics.
Meanwhile, eThekwini municipality says they had enough guards and their quick response saved people's lives.
We had about 59 lifeguards. So in that area when that happened, 25 lifeguards were on scene that responded. There were 5 jet skis and 5 boats, rescue boats that were on scene. Also, we have 3 lifeguards associations or other partners who were also on scene. So we had more than enough. That is why we managed to save other people.
Action SA in KwaZulu-Natal is demanding that eThekwini Metro conduct a full investigation into the incident. The party believes the city could be ill-prepared for the influx of holiday makers. Ngobile Madlala, Durban.
After years of battling sewage leaks, affected families in eMpolweni are finally getting help. 2 pensioners, Nomali Mhlambi and Francis Hugo, shared their ordeal with eNCA reporter Manqoba Mqunu over the weekend. They say life has become unbearable and they now fear the health hazard. They blame the municipality for failing to deliver services.
It's been a tormenting 3 years for these 2 families who have been living with raw sewage flowing in their yards. 70-year-old Nomali Mhlambi and 74-year-old Francis Hugo shared their horror story with eNCA of how they've been failed by the embattled eMpolweni municipality.
Isimo sempilo yami sinzima kakhulu ngokuthi manje sengihlala nginama chest pain. Kuthi sengihlala ngikhohlela njalo ngifanele ngibe ne medication all the time. Kuthi nangizwa ukuthi ngiba njani ngiphuza.
I can't even breathe. I can't come out of the house because of the sewage. The whole house is full of sewage. It's running in the house.
But following eNCA's expose, their cries have finally been heard, with Rand Water finally stepping in.
There will be vacuum tanks that will also suck the sewer out of those yards, and we start with the cleaning process. But the most critical part is that this bulk main that would be commissioned today is actually the key in resolving the problem.
The water entity was appointed by Water and Sanitation Minister in November last year to assist in eMpolweni's sewage problems. The water utility admits, though, the job hasn't been easy.
We've got a number of collapsed pipes. We've got a number of pump stations that are not working. We've got a number of wastewater treatment works themselves that are not working. Now, following that assessment, we then appointed a number of contractors. And what you're seeing behind us here is actually some of the work that we have actually started with as early as late last year. And that is the project that, upon commissioning, will start to deal with the issues of sewer, as in the sewer that is running the street, the sewer that is in people's yards.
But while filming at one of the pump stations, eNCA came across a shocking scene of sewage being pumped directly into a stream that feeds into the Vaal River.
It's appalling. And this is the third week straight that the engineers from Pump 8 have dug the trenches to lead the sewer directly into the river. So I did request a meeting with them to find out why exactly are we pumping raw sewer directly into the Vaal River. And the explanation I was given was that because of the power outages, the reserve dam can only hold sewer for 2 hours. So I was misled into thinking the river is overflowing and therefore the reserve dam is overflowing, therefore they had to take a trench.
But the Rand Water COO would not be drawn into the matter.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at some of the big interviews that our anchors did this week. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Shirdika Pillai. Presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa was not worried about his re-election. SA Tonight Sally Burdett spoke to him on Monday night after the results were announced.
The nature of the contents or the details of that report will only be revealed at that time. The president, though, remains satisfied that he's cooperated with the Integrity Commission, as well as other agencies that have been tasked with investigating the matter. As he has always said, he will subject himself to due process and he will support that due process, and he expects those investigations to be conducted with a large degree of no fear or favor.
Has the president actually seen the Integrity Commission's report into Phala Phala?
He's aware of the report, Sally, yes.
Okay, but he hasn't read it, or has he?
He has been finished with the report.
I see. So he has the report, and just let me get it absolutely clear. Did you say that the report will be discussed during conference or at a later stage by the new NEC? What's the process?
My understanding is that the report has been deferred to the next leadership of the NEC, and that's when the report will be discussed and processed. The president has been provided with a copy of the report, and as I said, the president is satisfied that he fully cooperated with that side of due process as it pertains to the requirements of the governing party.
ANC chairperson Gwede Mantashe admits bribes for votes remains a problem in the party, both at a branch and provincial level. He spoke with eNCA anchor Tumelo Mototwane on the sidelines of the conference at Nasrec.
We've all witnessed ill discipline in this conference as a country. I think there were even questions to say, does the country want to be led by ill-disciplined members of the ANC who can't even respect one another? Is that a priority for you?
No, the reality is that the ANC has grown younger. And when a party grows younger, there's a lot of work and investment that you must make in converting that quantity to quality. And the pace of converting quantity to quality. It's a function of the number of blows and the frequency of blows you throw at the quantity. We've got the people, we've got the numbers, we've got human beings. We must just intensify our education and engagement with them.
You came out hammering the use of money, which you say is a threat to quality leadership. And I'm talking about the use of money in a context of buying votes, candidates using it within the organization to climb up the leadership ladder. What's then to be done with money versus leadership?
Can I tell you, if there's one battle that we almost lost, is the battle and fight against money. You know, in the past we had this thing that money is used and so forth. This time around, you find people at branch level, at regional level, phoning you have this number of delegates, please give me so much money.
How much are we talking here?
Yeah, it depends. One person phoned me and said, I have 140 delegates, give me 100,000 rand. And I tell him that if I had 100,000 rand, I would go to an auction and buy sheep or cattle. I wouldn't give it to you.
Not a buffalo. You wouldn't buy a buffalo.
I won't buy a buffalo. I don't have high fence for wild animals.
Yeah. So, but definitely the issue of money, you've seen it. I mean, even also
it's a serious matter.
How are you going to deal with it? Because also Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign has been accused of running a multi-million campaign.
I'm not sure. I think he scaled down this year. Last time he was in trouble about that. But today it was more complex because it was widespread. For example, there was a man who was campaigning for a Treasurer General. He worked in the office of the president. We raised our concern. This person is in your office. He's going around buying votes. Please deal with that issue. Fortunately or unfortunately, he's not elected Treasurer General of the ANC. But if you go around displaying money, it's the worst way of dealing with things. Then you spoil these delegates. When they talk to you, you don't give them money. They think that you are sick.
The guessing game is over. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will lead the ANC to the 2024 national elections. But if recent signs of division within the party are anything to go by, the new leadership has its work cut out for it. eNCA anchor Dan Moyane spoke to analyst TK Poe for more.
This top seven, how should the external world, the world out there that's been observing this, you know? I mean, we know that even foreign media has been covering this 55th National Conference. I mean, how should this top seven, what does it look like? I mean, what does it mean for the outside world, including the markets, for example?
If you paid attention, as you said, to the news outlets, especially your more Western ones, while they acknowledge that, look, there is a seeming new broom coming through, they still have questions. And one of the questions they have, for instance, on the President Ramaphosa is still his Phala issue. So that's something which he really does need to address. And it'll be interesting to see how now this top seven particularly addresses that issue. But on the wider market, you're quite right to say the rand did go up. It was positive, but I think you'll probably see in the coming few months it's going to rebound, and they're going to start asking questions such as, okay, in the first term, you were always speaking about, or those that were close to you were speaking about your hands being tied. You almost have a free hand. Can you deliver? And I think they're probably going to give him around 2 years to really see, are you different in what you're doing?
Does he have 2 years? Because 18 months from now, plus minus, we're going to have the general election.
And that for me probably is the bigger issue. And that I say it's not 2 years because I think there's nothing, we can guarantee you this, there's nothing in government that's going to happen next year which is dramatic. ESCOM is not going to stop, and many other problems are not going to stop. So the reason I say 2 years is because I think the market is a bit of a fair player. They do try to give people, you're right in saying it's going to lead up to the election. But I think the bigger issue, which is something not really being discussed, as you're saying, is does this change the perception of non-ANC members across the country?
Especially around issues like Ramaphosa has been accused of being an indecisive leader. He over-consults, he doesn't take action, he takes too long to come to decisions, for example. Now he's got another 5 years at the helm of the ANC, which is vying to maintain or retain power in 2024.
Exactly, and so he cannot be himself, so to speak, because I think we can now say this with confidence. It's his personality. He likes to kind of overthink. He likes to make sure that he knows every card and then eventually get to it. But he's not going to be given that much time. So for me, I still see the ANC having a problem going forward, which is to say, what new message is this top 7 going to communicate?
Coming up, just how has the city of Cape Town managed to shield itself from the full impact of blackouts? We'll tell you more up next on Week in One. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Shirdika Pillai. Ever wondered why the city of Cape Town has lower stages of rolling blackouts than the rest of the country? It's because the more than 100-year-old Steenbras Dam provides Cape Town with hydro-generated power. The dams shield Cape Town from over 60% of blackouts that the rest of the country is forced to endure. But even they're beginning to buckle under higher blackout stages. eNCA senior reporter Aisha Ismail has more.
Higher blackout stages are putting their hard work at risk.
With the Stage 6 announcement and of course the frequency of the respective stages, we don't have enough lead time to recharge, to pump the water back up to the dam and to generate power again. And that is why we can't then offer that stage or Stage 2 levels down the line because of that. And so we're only able to do that when during the morning when of course there's a lower stage and we can recharge the system. That is a big game changer for Cape Town, and because we understand the importance of reducing our reliance on Eskom over time.
The 180 megawatt Steenbras hydro pump station consists of 4 turbines that are used to generate electricity. During peak power demand, it channels water from upper Steenbras to lower Steenbras through a turbine generator to create electricity. When electricity usage is low, the turbines pump the water back to the upper Steenbras dam to be reused the next day. In other words, it operates like a battery. Cape Town is the only city in South Africa to own and operate a large pumped hydroelectric scheme. Aisha Ismail, Cape Town.
In KwaZulu-Natal, justice has been denied for the families whose daughters were allegedly murdered by a police officer. Mlungisi Sikakane has been found dead in his Westville prison cell after reportedly committing suicide. eNCA's reporter Ngobile Madlala has the story.
It's not exactly the end of the road for the families who seek answers from Mlungisi Sikakane, a former Hillcrest police officer who allegedly murdered 2 women he was romantically linked to, Enhle Majosi and Stembile Ngobese. Enhle Majosi's father says the family is not throwing in the towel just yet, as they want to see what the cop wrote before taking his own life.
We still wanted answers, but we really are hoping that that suicide note that he left does reveal some truth to us, because at the moment that's all we have.
Enhle Majosi would have turned 19 on the 18th of December. The family feels it's no coincidence that the cop ended his life before her birthday, even though they feel he opted for the easy way out. The family feels the officer's death was justice on its own.
At the same time, we really are pleased at the fact that he chose to just exit himself out, because we were still worried at the fact that if he does go to court and they find him guilty, how long is he going to stay in custody, and will that give us our daughter back? No. So the fact that he's no longer around, I think this is the best justice that we could have asked for.
Meanwhile, the Correctional Services Department says an inquest has been opened following Skakane's death.
For every suicide case, an inquest has to be opened so that they get to establish how everything happened, the cause of death, and all of that, and then the death certificate, I'm sure, will be issued if it's not yet out.
We reached out to the National Prosecuting Authority for the status of the case, but NPA has declined to comment, saying they were still waiting for the confirmation of the alleged killer's death from the correctional services. Ngobile Madlala, Durban.
Argentina and Lionel Messi have been crowned World Cup 2022 champions in a penalty shootout after the legendary final with France at the weekend. But it seems Argentinian captain Lionel Messi is not only grabbing the headlines on the field of play, but off it as well. And that's it for us at Week in One. From myself and the team, have a blessed festive season and a prosperous and safe new year.